Chapter 1. The Encounter. The Astrix Outlands, a region of uncharted space, stretched vast and silent, punctuated only by drifting asteroids and the faint glow of distant stars. Amid this desolation, the cargo ship Silver Hawk glided with quiet purpose. Its pilot, Ethan Voss, leaned back in his chair, his weathered hands gripping the controls as he navigated through the asteroid field. The ship wasn't large, more of a freighter with basic living quarters, but it was home. Ethan had spent the last decade running supply routes, salvaging wrecks, and occasionally taking less-than-legal jobs to make ends meet. The solitude suited him. After losing his military unit in a skirmish years ago, he preferred the quiet company of the stars over the chaos of civilization. "All right, Hawk," Ethan muttered, tapping a control panel. "What's out here that's worth risking my hull?" The ship's AI, Luna, responded with a calm, synthetic voice. "Uncharted vessel detected on long-range sensors. Energy signatures suggest partial power. Minimal movement. Likely derelict." Ethan frowned. Derelict ships often meant salvageable goods or traps. Still, curiosity got the better of him. "Bring us closer. Let's take a look." Discovery. As the Silver Hawk approached, the derelict came into view. It was a small ship, no larger than a personal transport. Its sleek, angular design hinted at alien origin, though it bore the scars of a violent encounter. Hull breaches and scorch marks marred its surface, and its once bright navigation lights flickered weakly. "Luna, any life signs?" Ethan asked, scanning the vessel. "Faint biological readings detected," Luna replied. "Low probability of survival without immediate intervention." Ethan sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. He wasn't in the business of playing hero, but he couldn't just ignore a potential survivor. "Prep the docking bay. I'm going in." First contact. The docking procedure was uneventful, and Ethan suited up before boarding the derelict. The air inside was stale, laced with a metallic tang that hinted at failing life support systems. The ship's interior was cramped, its corridors illuminated by the faint glow of emergency lights. Ethan followed the faint life signs to a small cabin. Inside, he found the source of the signal, a tiny figure curled up in the corner, trembling. At first glance, she appeared childlike, no taller than 4 feet, with delicate features and iridescent skin that shimmered in the dim light. Her large, luminescent eyes locked onto him, wide with terror. "It's okay," Ethan said, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "I'm here to help." The alien girl recoiled, pressing herself further into the corner. She spoke in a language he didn't understand, her voice high-pitched and trembling. "Luna, translate," Ethan whispered. The AI activated the translator in his helmet, and her words became clear. "Please, don't eat me." Ethan blinked, taken aback. "Eat you? Why would I do that?" Her eyes darted to his hands, then his face, as if gauging his intentions. "You're human. They say humans devour everything." Ethan sighed, lowering himself to her level. "Well, I'm not like that. My name's Ethan. What's yours?" She hesitated, her voice barely audible. "Sevenera." "All right, Sevenera," Ethan said gently. "Your ship's in bad shape, and I don't think it's safe here. How about we get you back to mine?" She hesitated, her fear warring with desperation. Finally, she gave a small nod. A fragile trust. Back aboard the Silver Hawk, Sevenera remained wary, keeping her distance from Ethan as he worked to stabilize her condition. Her small frame was frail, and her breathing was shallow, but she seemed to recover quickly once she was out of the derelict ship. Ethan offered her food, a protein bar and water, but she eyed it suspiciously. "It's not poisoned," he said with a faint smile. "See?" He took a bite from his own bar to prove it was safe. After a moment, she tentatively took the offering, nibbling on the bar with caution. As she ate, Ethan noticed her gaze drifting to the various items in his cabin: tools, maps, and old photographs. "Where are you from, Sevenera?" he asked, breaking the silence. Her luminous eyes met his, filled with a mix of sadness and longing. "My home, it's gone." Ethan's expression softened. "I'm sorry. What happened?" "Raiders," she whispered. "They destroyed everything. My family, my people. I'm the only one left." Ethan felt a pang of guilt for his earlier reluctance to help. "You're safe now," he said. "I promise." A shared journey. Over the next few days, Sevenera began to open up. She told Ethan about her people, the Elvarians, a peaceful race known for their advanced technology and harmonious way of life. Their small colony had been wiped out by raiders seeking resources, leaving her stranded in the Astrix Outlands. Ethan, in turn, shared stories of his time in the military and his years as a salvager. Though their lives were vastly different, they found common ground in their shared losses and struggles. Slowly, Sevenera's fear of Ethan began to fade. She still flinched at loud noises and kept a wary distance, but her curiosity about him and his ship grew. She watched as he repaired equipment, asked questions about human technology, and even offered to help with simple tasks. "You're smarter than you let on," Ethan said one day as she successfully recalibrated a malfunctioning sensor. Sevenera smiled faintly, her confidence growing. "I used to work with machines back home. It was simpler then." "Well, you're a natural," Ethan said. "Keep it up, and you might just make a decent co-pilot." An unexpected threat. Their uneasy peace was shattered when Luna's alarms blared during a routine systems check. "Hostile vessel approaching," the AI warned. "Unknown configuration. Weapons systems active." Ethan rushed to the cockpit, Sevenera close behind. On the view screen, a sleek black ship loomed, its design unmistakably predatory. "Raiders," Sevenera whispered, her voice trembling. Ethan clenched his jaw. "They must have tracked your distress signal. They're here for you." Sevenera's fear returned in full force, but Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Not on my watch." As the raider ship closed in, Ethan activated the Silverhawk's defenses. The freighter wasn't built for combat, but it had a few tricks up its sleeve. He maneuvered through the asteroid field, using the debris as cover while firing bursts from the ship's plasma cannons. "Luna, divert all power to shields," Ethan ordered. "Sevenera, hold on to something." The Silverhawk rocked as enemy fire grazed its hull, but Ethan's piloting skills kept them one step ahead. Sevenera watched in awe as he outmaneuvered the raiders, her fear giving way to admiration. Finally, with a well-placed shot, Ethan disabled the raider ship's engines, leaving it adrift in the asteroid field. "Nice try," he muttered, setting course for the nearest safe haven. A new beginning. As the Silver Hawk entered hyperspace, Sevenera looked at Ethan with newfound respect. He had risked everything to protect her, a stranger from a distant world. "Thank you," she said softly, "for saving me." Ethan shrugged, a small smile tugging at his lips. "What can I say? I'm a sucker for underdogs." For the first time since they met, Sevenera laughed, small, musical sound that filled the cabin with warmth. As they continued their journey, Ethan realized that this tiny alien girl, who once feared him, was far stronger than she appeared. And together, they were about to embark on an adventure neither of them could have imagined. Chapter 2. The Bond Strengthens. The Silver Hawk cruised through hyperspace, its engines humming steadily as the crew of 2 Ethan Voss and Sevenera adjusted to their newfound partnership. The threat of the raiders lingered, but for the moment, they had a reprieve. Sevenera, though still timid, began to find her footing aboard the ship. Trust begins to form. Ethan sat in the cockpit, scanning star charts for the next safe port. Sevenera hesitated at the doorway, her luminous eyes wide as she clutched a data pad. She had taken a cautious interest in the ship's systems, observing from a distance until Ethan had gently encouraged her to get involved. "Hey," Ethan said, noticing her. "You don't have to hover in the shadows, you know? Come on in." Sevenera stepped forward, her small frame almost swallowed by the oversized jumpsuit she had borrowed from storage. I wanted to show you something," she said, holding out the datapad. Ethan took it, his brows furrowing as he scanned the information. It was a diagnostic report, far more detailed than anything his systems could generate. "Did you do this?" Sevenera nodded, her hands clasped nervously. "Your engines were running at 78% efficiency. I recalibrated the power flow algorithms to optimize output." Ethan stared at her, then broke into a grin. "You're telling me my ship's running smoother because of you?" Her cheeks flushed a faint purple, her species equivalent of a blush. "I thought it might help." "Help? You just shaved hours off our travel time," Ethan said, patting her shoulder. "Nice work, Sevenera. I knew you were a quick learner." Her small smile lit up the room. For the first time, she felt like she belonged. A shared past. Over the next few days, Sevenera grew more comfortable aboard the Silver Hawk, and her fear of Ethan began to dissipate. She still had moments of hesitation, her instincts conditioned by years of fear, but she found solace in the quiet routine of ship life. One evening, as they shared a modest meal in the galley, Ethan decided to break the silence. "So, tell me about your people. The Elvarians, right?" Sevenera toyed with her food, her expression thoughtful. "We were peaceful, advanced. My people believed in harmony, in living with nature instead of against it. But that made us vulnerable." "To the raiders," Ethan said, his voice low. She nodded, her gaze distant. "They came without warning, destroyed everything. I was supposed to escape with my family, but—" Her voice broke, and she looked away. Ethan reached across the table, his rough hand resting gently on hers. "I'm sorry, Sevenera. I know what it's like to lose people." Her eyes met his, shimmering with unshed tears. "You do?" He nodded. "Lost my entire unit during a mission. We were ambushed. I survived, but I couldn't save them." Sevenera's hand tightened around his. For the first time, she realized they weren't so different. "You're stronger than you think, Ethan. You saved me." Ethan chuckled softly. "I think you're stronger than you realize too, kid." A new threat emerges. Their moment of connection was interrupted by Luna, the ship's AI. "Captain, incoming transmission. Unidentified vessel approaching." Ethan bolted to the cockpit, with Sevenera close behind. On the view screen, a sleek black ship loomed, its predatory design unmistakable. "More raiders?" Sevenera whispered, her voice trembling. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Looks like it." "Luna, scan the ship." "Scanning complete," Luna replied. "Vessel matches the configuration of the raider fleet. Weapon systems are active." Ethan cursed under his breath. "They must have tracked us through hyperspace. They're not giving up." Sevenera's fear returned in full force, but Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We've got this, okay? Trust me." She nodded, her resolve hardening. "What do we do?" Ethan grinned. "We fight back." An unlikely team. The Silver Hawk wasn't built for combat, but Ethan had made enough modifications over the years to hold its own. As the raider ship closed in, Ethan took the helm, while Sevenera manned the tactical station. "Luna, activate shields and charge plasma cannons," Ethan ordered. "Sevenera, keep an eye on their movement. Tell me where to aim." Sevenera's hands trembled as she studied the controls, but she forced herself to focus. The tactical display showed the raider ship's trajectory, its red markers closing in on their position. "Left thruster is exposed," she said, her voice steady despite her fear. "Aim for the joint." Ethan fired, the plasma bolt striking true. The raider ship jolted, its maneuverability compromised. "Nice call," Ethan said, a note of pride in his voice. "Keep it up." The raiders retaliated, their weapons hammering the Silver Hawk's shields. Sevenera worked quickly, rerouting power to reinforce the weakened sections. "They're trying to disable our engines," she said. "We need to move." Ethan pushed the ship into a barrel roll, narrowly avoiding a missile barrage. "Hang on." The cockpit shuddered as the Silver Hawk skimmed the edge of an asteroid field. Ethan used the debris as cover, weaving through the chaotic terrain while firing calculated shots at the raider ship. "Gotcha," he muttered as a final plasma blast struck the raider's weapon systems, leaving it defenseless. The raider ship faltered, then retreated, its engines sputtering. The Silver Hawk emerged victorious, though its hull bore the scars of battle. A turning point. As the ship stabilized, Ethan slumped in his chair, exhaling deeply. That was too close. Sevenera turned to him, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and excitement. "We did it." Ethan grinned. "Damn right we did. You were amazing out there, Sevenera." Her cheeks flushed with pride. I didn't think I could do it." "Well, you did," Ethan said, "and I couldn't have done it without you." Sevenera smiled, a warmth spreading through her chest. For the first time since she had crash-landed on this strange human ship, she felt more than safe, she felt capable. A growing partnership, the battle marked a turning point in their relationship. Seven Era no longer saw Ethan as a potential threat, but as a protector, a mentor, and perhaps even a friend. Ethan, in turn, recognized the strength and intelligence hidden beneath her timid exterior. As they repaired the ship and planned their next steps, a new sense of camaraderie emerged. They weren't just two individuals surviving by chance, they were a team. But as they prepared to leave the asteroid field, a faint signal flickered on the Silverhawk sensors. Seven Era froze, her expression darkening. "What is it?" Ethan asked. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "It's a distress call. From my people." Ethan's gaze hardened. "Then it looks like we've got a new mission." Chapter 3. A Greater Threat. The distress call was faint, a barely audible signal buried in the static of the Silverhawk's long-range sensors. Ethan Voss and Seven Era sat in the cockpit, their eyes fixed on the display as Luna, the ship's AI, attempted to decode it. "Signal origin identified," Luna announced after a tense pause. "Coordinates indicate a location on the outskirts of the Asteris Nebula." Seven Era's hands tightened on the edge of the console. "That's close to my colony's borders, or what's left of them." Ethan glanced at her, his brow furrowed. "You think it's survivors?" Her glowing eyes flickered with hope and fear. "Maybe. Or it could be a trap." Ethan nodded, his lips pressed into a thin line. "We can't ignore it. If there's even a chance someone needs help." "I agree," Seven Era said, though her voice trembled. "But we need to be careful. If the raiders are still out there, they won't catch us off guard," Ethan said firmly. "We'll be ready this time." Into the nebula. The Asteris Nebula was a swirling expanse of iridescent gas clouds and asteroid clusters, a natural labyrinth that made navigation a nightmare. Ethan relied on Luna to chart a safe course, but the ship's sensors struggled against the interference. "Visibility's down to almost nothing," Ethan muttered, his hands steady on the controls. "Keep an eye on the scanners." Seven Era nodded, her gaze fixed on the tactical display. The tension in the cockpit was palpable, but she forced herself to focus. She wouldn't let her fear paralyze her again. As they neared the signal's origin, the nebulous glow parted to reveal a small, derelict station anchored to an asteroid. Its design was unfamiliar alien, but not Elvarian. "Luna, any life signs?" Ethan asked. "Faint biological readings detected," the AI replied, "likely originating from within the station." Ethan powered down the ship's main systems to avoid detection, leaving only minimal life support and a faint hum of auxiliary power. "We go in quiet," he said. "If there's trouble, we get out fast." Seven Era swallowed hard but nodded. "Understood." The station. The station's interior was dark and cold, its walls lined with strange, organic-looking structures that pulsed faintly with light. Seven Era stayed close to Ethan, her small frame dwarfed by his bulk and the towering hallways around them. "This place gives me the creeps," Ethan muttered, his plasma pistol raised. Seven Era's eyes scanned the strange symbols etched into the walls. "This isn't Raider tech. It's something else." "Like what?" "I don't know," she admitted, "but it's ancient." Their conversation was cut short by a faint noise, a low, rhythmic thumping that echoed through the halls. Ethan signaled for silence, his sharp eyes scanning the shadows. The sound grew louder, accompanied by a soft, whispering voice that sent a chill down Seven Era's spine. She clutched Ethan's arm, her fear returning in full force. "What is that?" she whispered. Ethan shook his head. "Stay close." They followed the sound to a large chamber at the heart of the station. Inside, they found a group of Elvarian refugees huddled together, their luminous eyes wide with terror. They were surrounded by strange, glowing orbs that floated in the air like sentinels. "Help us," one of the refugees pleaded, his voice weak. "Please, they're coming." A new enemy. Before Ethan could respond, the chamber was flooded with light. The orbs transformed, their surfaces shifting to reveal mechanical limbs and glowing red eyes. They emitted a piercing screech as they converged on the group. "Run!" Ethan shouted, firing his plasma pistol at the nearest orb. The blast struck its surface, but the orb absorbed the energy, retaliating with a beam of searing light. Seven Era grabbed the refugees, guiding them toward the exit as Ethan covered their retreat. Her fear threatened to overwhelm her, but she forced herself to stay focused. These people were depending on her. One of the orbs blocked their path, its limbs extending like claws. Sevenera reacted instinctively, pulling a small device from her pocket and throwing it at the orb. The device detonated in a burst of EMP energy, disabling the orb and clearing the way. "Keep moving," she shouted, surprising even herself with the strength in her voice. Escape. The group raced through the station, pursued by the relentless orbs. Ethan and Sevenera worked together seamlessly, their bond forged in the crucible of danger. She identified weak points in the orb's defenses, and he used his firepower to exploit them. As they neared the airlock, Luna's voice crackled through their comms. "Captain, additional hostile vessels detected on approach. Recommend immediate evacuation." "We're almost there," Ethan replied, his voice strained. They reached the airlock just as the first enemy ship appeared on the station's exterior. Ethan ushered the refugees into the Silver Hawk while Sevenera activated the ship's automated defenses. The orbs breached the airlock seconds before it closed, but the Silver Hawk's engines roared to life, propelling the ship into the safety of hyperspace. The refugees' story. Once the danger had passed, Ethan and Sevenera turned their attention to the refugees. There were 5 in total, their faces gaunt and their clothes tattered. "Thank you," the eldest said, his voice trembling. "We thought we were doomed." "Who were those things?" Ethan asked. "They're not raiders," the man replied. "There's something far worse. We call them the Sentinels, machines left behind by an ancient civilization. They awaken when their territory is disturbed." "Why were you there?" Sevenera asked. The man hesitated. "We were searching for something. A weapon. Something we could use to fight back against the raiders." Sevenera's heart sank. "And instead, you woke the Sentinels." The man nodded, his expression haunted. "They won't stop now. They'll hunt anyone who knows of their existence." Ethan exchanged a glance with Sevenera. "Looks like we just made a whole new set of enemies." A new mission. Back in the cockpit, Ethan reviewed the refugees' intel. The Sentinels weren't just machines, they were part of a network that spanned the galaxy, protecting the secrets of a lost empire. "This is bigger than we thought," Ethan said. "If the Sentinels are active, they won't just target us. They'll go after anyone who gets in their way." Sevenera nodded, her expression determined. "Then we need to warn people, and we need to stop them." Ethan grinned. "I was hoping you'd say that." As the Silver Hawk prepared for its next jump, Sevenera felt a newfound sense of purpose. She wasn't just a survivor anymore, she was a fighter, and she wasn't alone. Together, they would face whatever threats lay ahead, determined to protect the galaxy from the forces that sought to tear it apart. Chapter 4. A Galactic Reckoning. The Silver Hawk emerged from hyperspace, gliding into the orbit of Marexus Prime, a bustling trade hub on the edge of neutral space. The planet's surface was a glittering patchwork of megacities and spaceports, its atmosphere teeming with ships of every size and origin. For Ethan Voss and Sevenera, it was the perfect place to disappear for a time. In the ship's cockpit, Ethan leaned back in his chair, scanning the incoming transmissions. "Marexus is the closest thing to safe harbor we've got," he said. "But if the Sentinels are as widespread as the refugees claimed, we don't have long before they catch up." Sevenera, seated beside him, frowned as she reviewed the refugees' fragmented data. "The Sentinels are connected through a galactic network. If we can disrupt the core node, we could disable them or at least slow them down." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "And you happen to know where this core is?" Sevenera hesitated, then pointed to a blinking coordinate on the map. "Here." The refugees mentioned an ancient star system, Erithus Delta. "It matches the descriptions in Elvarian records." Ethan studied the map, his lips pressed into a thin line. "That system's deep in galactic order territory. Even if we can get there, we'll need help to pull this off." Recruiting allies. The first step was gathering allies. Marexus Prime was a melting pot of smugglers, mercenaries, and outlaws, many of whom had reasons to oppose the galactic order or its rumored alliance with the raiders. Ethan and Sevenera split up, combing the bustling markets and shadowy cantinas for potential recruits. It wasn't easy. Most dismissed their warnings as conspiracy theories or refused to risk angering the Sentinels. But after hours of negotiation, they managed to form a small but capable crew. Rax, a hulking reptilian mercenary with a penchant for heavy weapons. Scylla, a sly hacker who claimed she could crack any system in the galaxy. Cade, a disgraced Galactic Order pilot looking for redemption. Back aboard the Silver Hawk, the new team gathered around a holographic projection of Aerithis Delta. "This is suicide," Cade said, his arms crossed. "Even if we get past the Sentinels, the Galactic Order will have patrols everywhere." "That's why we need to hit them fast and hard," Ethan replied. "If we take out the core, we cut off their coordination. It's our best shot." Rax grunted, hefting a massive plasma cannon onto his shoulder. "I like fast and hard." Silas smirked. "I'll handle the hacking. Just keep the metal deathbots off me." Sevenera stepped forward, her voice firm. "We're not just doing this for ourselves. The Sentinels won't stop until they've wiped out anyone who threatens their territory. This fight is about protecting the galaxy." The crew exchanged glances, their expressions hardening. They knew the odds, but Sevenera's conviction was contagious. "All right," Cade said with a nod. "Let's do this." The assault on Aerithis Delta. The journey to Aerithis Delta was fraught with danger. The Silver Hawk dodged Galactic Order patrols and avoided Sentinel-infested zones, relying on Sila's hacking skills and Cade's piloting expertise to stay undetected. As they approached the system, the true scale of the Sentinels' network became clear. Massive structures resembling orbiting fortresses guarded the core, their surfaces bristling with weapons and drone bays. "This isn't just a node," Ethan said, his voice grim. "It's a damn fortress." Sevenera studied the layout, her sharp mind already formulating a plan. "We'll need to split up. Sila and I will infiltrate the central hub and plant the EMP charges. The rest of you create a distraction." "Distraction?" Rax growled. "I'll give them a distraction they won't forget." Ethan clapped the mercenary on the back. "That's the spirit." A desperate fight. The operation began with a daring assault. The Silver Hawk, accompanied by a salvaged raider ship piloted by Cade, drew the Sentinels' attention, weaving through the fortress's defenses while firing bursts of plasma. Meanwhile, Sila and Sevenera slipped through a maintenance hatch, navigating the labyrinthine corridors of the central hub. The air was thick with tension as they avoided patrol drones and hacked through locked doors. "Almost there," Sila whispered, her fingers flying over her data pad. "One more firewall to crack." "Hurry," Sevenera urged, glancing over her shoulder. The hum of approaching drones sent a chill down her spine. Outside, the battle raged. Rax unleashed a torrent of firepower, his booming laughter echoing over the comms as he tore through waves of Sentinel drones. Ethan piloted the Silver Hawk with precision, outmaneuvering the enemy ships while providing covering fire. "We can't keep this up forever," Ethan shouted. "How's it looking in there?" "Almost done," Sevenera replied, her voice strained. She placed the final EMP charge on the core, her hands trembling. "Just one more minute." The turning point. The Sentinels, realizing the threat to their core, redirected their forces. Drones swarmed the central hub, their metallic bodies glinting in the dim light. Sila's fingers flew across her datapad, bypassing the final security protocols as Sevenera fired her small plasma pistol, holding the drones at bay. "Hurry!" Sevenera shouted, her voice edged with panic. "Got it!" Sila exclaimed as the final firewall fell. The EMP charges activated, sending a pulse of energy through the fortress. The lights flickered, and the drones collapsed, their systems fried. Outside, the remaining Sentinel ships faltered, their coordination shattered. Ethan seized the opportunity, delivering a devastating blow to the fortress's power core. The structure erupted in a cascade of explosions, the shockwave rippling through space. "Mission accomplished," Ethan said, his voice weary but triumphant. "Let's get the hell out of here." A hero's legacy. Back aboard the Silver Hawk, the crew celebrated their hard-won victory. The destruction of the Aerithis Delta core was a major blow to the Sentinels, giving the galaxy a chance to rally against their threat. Sevenera stood at the observation deck, her gaze fixed on the stars. Ethan joined her, his expression thoughtful. "You did good, kid," he said. "Hell, you did great." Sevenera smiled, her confidence stronger than ever. "We did it together." Ethan nodded. "What now?" "The galaxy's a big place, and it's not getting any safer." "We keep fighting," Sevenera said. "There's still so much to do. But for the first time, I feel like I can make a difference." As the Silver Hawk prepared for its next mission, Sevenera felt a sense of purpose she had never known. She had faced her fears, forged unlikely alliances, and emerged as a hero in her own right. And with Ethan by her side, she knew the fight for the galaxy's future was just beginning.